Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have another great show for you tonight. You've been listening maybe to John Cornett playing some Zeppelin off the wings. Hey John. Right next to me is that wild and crazy guy, Mr. Casper Leach. We have some hemp news for you tonight, and we'll be taking your phone calls. So stand by for that, some videos and more. We'll be back after our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, our first story tonight's from right here in the USA, out of San Mateo, California, in the Bay Area. A majority of Americans, including 2/3 of Democrats, believe that marijuana should be legal, according to a national survey compiled by YouGov.com. 52% of respondents said the use of marijuana should be legalized. Only 34% of respondents opposed the idea. Support for legalization was strongest among self-identified Democrats at 66%, those with a household income of $100,000 or more, not many of us, 62%, and African Americans at 59%. Support was weakest among Hispanics, with just 39%, and those over the age of 65, with just 39%, and self-identified Republicans with 36%. 66% of the respondents agreed government efforts to enforce marijuana laws cost more than they are worth, while 62% said the government should no longer enforce federal laws in states that have legalized and regulated the plant's use. 53% of those surveyed, including 68% of respondents between the ages of 45 and 64, acknowledge having tried cannabis. The YouGov.com poll is the latest in a series of national surveys showing a majority support among Americans for regulating the adult use of cannabis. Down in Salem, Oregon, state lawmakers met on Wednesday afternoon to consider legislative concepts that would change Oregon's marijuana laws. At the meeting, representatives from the Oregon Liquor Control Commission and the Oregon Health Authority also updated lawmakers on the progress of legal marijuana programs. One legislative concept, LC 145, makes what one legislative lawyer called technical fixes. If LC 145 became a bill, it would remove the residency requirement for marijuana businesses, increase spending flexibility for the OLCC by allowing greater distribution of fees collected through licensing, would create a pilot project to educate children on the effects of marijuana use, and reduce the penalties for certain marijuana-related crimes. Another legislative concept considered by the committee is LC 180. It has three primary policies. Allow marijuana businesses licensed with the OLCC to obtain special registration for handling medical-grade products. Makes it so marijuana retailers cannot collect taxes from medical marijuana program patients, and authorizes dispensaries to sell new types of products until December 31st, including edibles, carbon dioxide vaporizers, topical balms, and extracts. Representative Carl Wilson also brought forward LC 232, which would require that industrial hemp products intended for human consumption be lab tested in accordance with OHA, or medical marijuana testing rules. The Oregon Health Authority, which regulates the medical marijuana industry, OHA representatives told lawmakers it remains concerned that children will use marijuana products. Advertising for dispensaries and products is not as tightly regulated as these health regulators would like. OHA also revealed a logo that will appear on products containing marijuana, which shows an exclamation mark and a cannabis leaf on a red background. The Oregon Liquor Control staff that will regulate recreational adult use marijuana told the committee that the agency is now accepting recreational marijuana licenses applications, and more than 540 applications have been received, and 300 of them have already been completed. Going forward, the committee may have to propose the legislative concepts as bills during the legislature's 5-week session, which starts in February. North, on the other side of the Columbia River from where we're at, a new bill has been filed in the Washington legislature which would allow adults in the state to lawfully grow up to 6 marijuana plants. Washington is currently the only state with legal marijuana that doesn't allow any home cultivation. Under the state's I-502 legalization law, all recreational cannabis must be grown by state-licensed commercial producers. It's a chance for Washington to finally join the states where cannabis has been more fully legalized because, as any thinking person realizes, if you can't grow your own, it's not really legal yet. Washington's House Bill 2629, filed by Representative Brian Blake, a Democrat representing Washington's 19th legislative district, would make the following amendments to the current Washington marijuana laws. It would authorize individuals to lawfully engage in non-commercial transfers of small amounts of cannabis and cannabis seeds. That means without the exchange of money or other goods of barter. It authorizes adults to cultivate up to 6 marijuana plants at home and to possess up to 24 ounces of marijuana harvested from homegrown plants. So we encourage you to support these changes. House Bill 2629 in Washington State, and stay tuned on what's happening in the Oregon legislature. They've curtailed the medical marijuana bill, and we encourage patients who are going to be kicked off from their grower because of changes in House Bill 3400 that was voted on last year to urge the legislature to reverse those changes. And that's what some of these proposals at the top story are going to talk about. Here in the River City, former Portland trailblazer Cliff Robinson is getting into the marijuana business, advocating the use of marijuana as a medical treatment for athletes. Robinson, who just turned 49, is back in Portland, Oregon, and will be a feature at an upcoming cannabis conference next month. Robinson said, quote, "I think I've always been an advocate for cannabis. It's calming, it calms my stomach, and calms my nerves. So from that standpoint, I see a lot of positive results," end quote. Robinson's 18-year NBA career lasted from 1989 through the 2006 season. He said he smoked marijuana while he was in the league, even though it was both illegal and against the NBA rules. Robinson said, "When I did it, it was wrong. I paid the penalty," end quote. But now we're in a new time and we're trying to move forward. Uncle Cliffy is getting into the marijuana business under the name Uncle Spliffy. He's urging team doctors to consider treating sports-related pain and other ailments with cannabis instead of harsh, dangerous pharmaceuticals. Robinson said, quote, "I think we definitely have to continue looking into cannabis and the benefits it has, the health benefits that it has, because I think it comes leaps and bounds ahead of others," end quote. Our next story tonight is from Israel. The administration of liquid cannabis extracts containing THC is associated with the mitigation of various symptoms of Alzheimer's related to agitation and dementia, according to observational trial data published online ahead of the print in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. Israeli investigators assessed the use of cannabis oil as an adjunct pharmacotherapy treatment in 10 Alzheimer's disease patients over a period of several weeks. The researchers reported that drug administration was associated with significant reduction in the patient's symptoms and severity scores. Specifically, cannabis oil ingested corresponded with decreased levels of aggression, irritability, apathy, and delusions. The investigators concluded, quote, "Adding medical cannabis oil to Alzheimer's disease patients' pharmacotherapy is safe and a promising treatment option," end quote. The administration of oral synthetic THC in pill form, or Dronabinol and Marinol, has previously been reported to reduce Alzheimer's-induced agitation, while preclinical studies have theorized that cannabinoids may be neuroprotective against the onset of the neurodegenerative disease. This study is called Safety and Efficacy of Medical Cannabis Oil for Behavioral and Psychological Symptoms of Dementia, an open-label add-on pilot study. and it appears in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. Our last story tonight is out of Los Angeles. The cumulative use of cannabis by adolescents has no direct effect on intelligence decline, according to longitudinal data published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Investigators at the University of California, Los Angeles, and the University of Minnesota evaluated whether marijuana use was associated with changes in intellectual performance in 2 longitudinal cohorts of adolescent twins. Participants were assessed for intelligence at ages 9 to 12 before marijuana involvement, and again at ages 17 to 20. The researchers reported no dose-response relationship between cannabis use and IQ decline. They also found no significant differences in performance among marijuana-using subjects when compared to their non-using twins. The investigators concluded, quote, "In the largest longitudinal examination of marijuana use and IQ change, we find little evidence to suggest that adolescent marijuana use has a direct effect on intellectual decline. The lack of a dose-response relationship and the absence of significant meaningful differences between discordant siblings lead us to conclude that the deficits observed in marijuana users are attributable to confounding factors that influence both substance initiation and IQ rather than a neurotoxic effect of marijuana," end quote. The findings follow the publication of a separate longitudinal study in the journal Pharmacology, which concluded that cumulative adolescent marijuana use is not associated with lower IQ or poorer educational performance once adjustments are made for potential confounders, specifically cigarette smoking. This study is called Impact of Adolescent Marijuana Use on Intelligence, results from 2 longitudinal twin studies, and appears in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. That's the end of our hemp news segment tonight. John Cornett is standing by with some tunes. Hey, John.
Hey, Paul, I'm going to do a little tribute to a fallen member of a great band.
All right.
My load of several women on my mind. 4 they wanna own me, 2 they wanna stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. Take it easy. Well, I was standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford, slowing down to take a look at me. Come on, baby, don't say maybe. I gotta know that your sweet love is gonna save me. We may lose or we may win. We may never be here again. So open up, I'm climbing in. Take it easy. Well, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got worlds of trouble on my mind. Looking for a lover who won't blow my cover. She's so hard to find. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't find the thing real, drive you crazy. Don't say maybe, I gotta know
All right.
Please, Glenn Fry. Thank you.
We lost Glenn Fry this week. There's been a lot of people passed away here over the past few months.
Well, apparently when Bowie got to the gate, St. Peter said, "Do you want fries with that?" And Glenn came along.
Oh, I get it now. Well, you know, we are taking viewers' phone calls. So if you have a question, then you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. And I guess we do have a caller standing by. So welcome to the show, caller.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Hey, the reason I was calling is recent had surgery, and they've been giving me, these Oxycontin and Codone and all the pain pills that
knock
come
you out,
along
make
with
you
surgery,
drool.
including nerve blocker during surgery, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, what type of cannabis would help me with just the pain that I'm experiencing? I'm not looking for the high or anything like that.
CBD. CBD, things with cannabidiol or cannabidiol, that would be the best thing. It would not get you high at all, but it would help take care of the pain. And so a CBD extract is highly recommended. There's another compound out there that's not as easily purchased at dispensaries, cannabichromine or CBC. And so those two things in cannabis have been shown to be very effective pain relievers.
Okay, and then
You can get CBD. You can get CBD. A lot of times it's bogus.
What's the best way to get the effect?
You taking it orally.
Take it orally, okay.
Yeah, to eat it. When you eat it, it lasts longer, and it'll help you sleep at night. And it's best when taken orally, and it does last longer.
Is it oil or is it a cannabis?
Yeah, you can get it in little gel caps. You can get it in pills. You can get it in food. You can get it for inhalation as well. But the best way for the longest interval between having to take more is to take it orally in pills or food.
Okay, great.
Some of them mix it into drinks. You have a drink mix I've seen out there.
Okay, well, just tell me again what it's called. We're writing this down right here, and then I'm going to hang up. And thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, it's CBD. Good luck. I know surgery is a terrible thing, and it takes a long time to come back from it. But hopefully, that CBD will help you. We have another phone call. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Yeah.
Hey. Hi.
Yeah. I got a question.
Okay.
I have a medical marijuana card. And I have a caregiver. And I want to know, and he supplies for me very well, and I want to know if I'm still qualified to have 4 plants legally at my house.
Yes.
Am?
Any household in Oregon is allowed to have 4 plants.
Okay. I was just wondering, because I had the card, so I am being supplied. I don't want to, over-limit myself or whatever. That's kind of why I'm asking.
Any household with adults can have 4 plants in our state now, thank goodness. At least that was one good thing we got out of Measure 91.
Yeah, that is a really good thing.
It is. It's great.
But I got an excellent caregiver, and he takes care of me really well. I know a lot of them are being mistreated, but he does a really good job.
Unfortunately, the Oregon legislature passed House Bill 3400, and for instance, I take care of dozens and dozens of patients, but under this bill, I now find that I have to get rid of them, and I can only take care of 4 in an outdoor garden or 8 in an indoor garden here in the city. And so that means literally dozens of my patients are not going to be able to have me as their grower anymore. And I give it away for free, so they don't want to lose that. But The state is mandating this. We're trying to get the legislature to change it back the way it was. We talked a little bit about those changes in a story I presented at the top of the show. But I urge you to contact your legislator and tell them that the changes they made are going to hurt tens of thousands of patients. I think the latest estimate I've seen is about 30,000 patients will be left without a caregiver because of those changes. Also, the legislature increased the grower fee, where if you name someone else as a grower, it was already $50, which was kind of a ripoff. Now it's $200.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
And talking to folks,
we need to really protect the medical marijuana program. That's what I'm worried about, too.
in Measure 91, we said 3 times that the medical marijuana law will not be changed, but the legislature doesn't get that message. Coming up on the 5th of February, we'll have Mark Miller on our show. He worked as the drug expert at the University of Oregon for a number of years back in the 70s, but Mark Miller will be here, and he's got an initiative to make it impossible for the legislature to make changes to initiatives that have been passed by the people.
Oh,
So
that's great.
we're
That
supporting
sounds real
that.
good. That makes me feel a lot better. Well,
Yeah.
thanks a lot, Paul, for the answer. I was just really curious about that. I've had a medical marijuana card now for probably 9 or 10 years,
Ah, congratulations.
and I want to keep it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Paul.
You're very welcome.
Thank you
Have a
much.
good night. Thanks for calling. If you have a question for us tonight, then you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442.
I hope you know that in the news segment, you peed on my Wheaties.
What do you mean?
Over the years, when people would look at me and shake their heads and roll their eyes and go, "Casper, are you really that stupid?" I'd always say, "No, I'm high." But apparently, smoking marijuana doesn't affect the IQ. So now I have no excuse but to say, well, apparently I am. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, we have a studio audience here, and you are welcome to come down and join us at the Portland Community Media Studios each Friday night, about 45 weeks out of the year. And there's a microphone off to the side here, and you can speak and ask a question. And so we don't even put you on camera, so you have some privacy. And we have a lady here who is at the microphone, and she's ready to say her piece.
It's either a lady or a guy in drag. I'm not sure.
I think it's a woman.
I don't know. You be the judge.
It's a woman. Hi.
I want to ask you a question, but or I want you to address something for me. But first, I wanted just to speak to pain management, something that we know a lot about in our house, and just to mention again, the human body acclimates to THC.
That's true.
And the medicinal benefits, really, we don't even understand yet. Really, the full impact of the whole plant.
Sure.
And so for people that are needing pain management, CBD oil can be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to encourage anyone with pain management. You know, if you're feeling hesitant about the euphoria or the high part of it, not to worry about that so much, because believe me, you get used to it, your body acclimates to it, and you don't feel it
the first few times it might seem overwhelming to some uninitiated, but after a few times that lessens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're uninitiated, you might want to have a buddy with you the first time you go for it, but whatever. I've had a lot of important distractions in my life for at least a couple of months now, and forgive me for redundancy, but I was hoping that you could just update me and us a little bit again on where we're at with the legislature and the medical program. Have they? I mean, we know that they would like to reduce us from 6 to 4 plants per patient. Has that already been done? Where are we at with this?
No, it's still 6 plants a patient. Up in Washington State, they've reduced it from 15 to 4 plants. Unless you register with state, then you can grow 6 plants per patient. But here in Oregon, it's still 6 plants per patient and 18 smaller plants that are less than a foot tall. So a total of 24 plants and 24 ounces for a medical patient. But what they've done is they have said caregivers are limited to growing for 2 patients indoors in the city, 4 patients for grown indoors out of the city. And if you have grown since December 31st of 2014, then you can apply to be grandfathered in over the next 6 weeks to the Oregon Health Authority. And everyone I know at the Oregon Health Authority is very upset and not happy with these changes and hope the legislature will change it back. But if you apply, then you can get 4 plants indoors at one site, 4 patients I mean, so a total of 24 plants if you're grandfathered in outdoors, and 2 plants if you're not grandfathered in outdoors. And indoors, it's 4 patients or 24 plants indoors, and if you're grandfathered in, then it is 8 patients that you can grow for indoors. So yeah, I got a little confused there, but it is a little confusing, and we've been dealing with the same law. And one of the worst things is that the caregiver fee has now been increased to $200. So for a patient who names someone else as their caregiver, they've got to pay $400 a year to participate in this program, which is exorbitant for a lot of people who are living on a limited income. So, and that includes most medical marijuana patients, because most of them are very sick. But hopefully we'll get the legislature to change this, and if not, we might be back at the initiative right away. So if you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4442, and we have a caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello. I was wondering if you could help me with a problem I have.
I'll try.
I've got chronic pain, and it's been going on for quite some time. And it's the reason why I got my medical marijuana card, because Western medicine decided that they weren't going to help me out anymore. And the argument started over 4 or 5 milligram oxys a month. They were afraid I would have an addiction because of that, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got my medical marijuana card, and life happened. I've gotten hit by a car since then, and they still won't give me anything for pain. Do you have any? It's come to my attention from talking to some medical doctors, you know, in urgent care facilities and such, that doctors are staying away from it and wouldn't be caught dead because it ruins their reputation if they even think about giving something like that to a medical card holder. Do you have any suggestions on how I can handle this?
Get more information for your doctors. There's just a whole raft of thousands of studies. If you look up Granny Scarecrow's List, Granny Scarecrow's List is updated once or twice a year with the latest studies. And it's kind of an odd name, but the person who compiles it has their reasons for that. But it is an excellent resource that lists conditions in alphabetical order and all the latest studies that have to do with that. So with that information, you can decide to print out the studies that are relevant for your condition, and you become a font of information to anyone who needs to know about that. So look up Granny Scarecrow's List, and that's one thing to do. Take copies of that to your doctor.
From what they've said to me, it's more of a fact that it's illegal federally, and they don't want to be responsible because of that. But then someone told me yesterday, a friend told me yesterday, that that's actually not true, that legislation got changed. Do you know if that's true?
Yeah, it has been changed. So here in Oregon, cannabis is now a Schedule II drug, and Marinol is a Schedule III drug. So doctors are not educated about medicines in medical school. They take one little class among 100 different classes on pharmacology. And so it's up to us. Most of their education comes from pharmaceutical companies. They believe what the pharmaceutical companies tell them and what patients tell them back in response. So you have to be in charge of your own health care in this country. You've got to empower yourself, and you've got to teach your doctor what you need them to know. Sorry, you there? Okay. It's kind of frightening. That's the way it is. So, do we have another caller? I think we do. Welcome to the show, caller. Oh, no. No. Well, you know what? We had a story at the top of the hour about Portland's basketball great Cliff Robinson. And here's a little video from our local news about Cliff Robinson and medical marijuana. We'll be back in just a moment.
Former Portland Trailblazers star Cliff Robinson is back in town promoting cannabis.
He's a featured speaker at the upcoming Cannabis Collaborative Conference in February. I sat down with Uncle Cliffy to ask him about it. Why have you become an advocate for cannabis?
Well, you know, Ken, I think I was always an advocate for cannabis, calm my stomach, you know, calm my nerves a little bit. So, you know, from that standpoint, I see a lot of positives.
Clifford Robinson was the sixth man on the Blazer team that went to the NBA Finals twice in the early 1990s. He told me he smoked marijuana when he was in the league, even though it was illegal and against NBA rules.
When I did it, you know, it was wrong. You know, when I did it, I was wrong. I paid the penalty. But now we're in a new time and we're trying to move forward.
Now that medicinal and recreational marijuana are legal in Oregon, Robinson's getting into the cannabis business under the name Uncle Spliffy. And he wants professional team doctors to consider treating pain and other ailments with cannabis instead of pharmaceuticals.
I think it's a possibility. I think we definitely have to continue looking into cannabis and the benefits that it have, the health benefits that it have, because I think it's you know, it's come leaps and bounds.
Yeah, it was interesting to sit down with Cliff. He had an 18-year career in the NBA, which is long in professional basketball. So if the marijuana affected his performance, which he says it didn't, it definitely did not affect his longevity.
No, not at all.
Yeah, the Cannabis Conference is February 3rd and 4th at the Expo Center. Cliff's keynote speech is on the 4th.
Uncle Spliffy.
Uncle Spliffy,
Okay.
that's the name of his company.
All right.
Okay.
And let's give a big high five to his wife too. Cuckoo, ka-choo, Mrs. Robinson.
Okay. That was a good one. That was a good one. We have another caller. Welcome to the show. Oh, first of all, before that caller comes on, I need to make a correction. I said Granny Scarecrow. It's Granny Storm Crow's List, not Granny Scarecrow. I was wrong. Brain freeze, whatever you want to call it. Granny Storm Crow's List is an incredible list that is updated once or twice every year with literally thousands of medical study references of the highest scientific caliber. So Granny Storm Crow's List. Now we'll take that caller.
Not to be confused with Casper's clear weather list.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now, do we have a caller there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, thanks for your patience.
Sure.
How can
Okay, well, my question is that, you know, I just keep hearing from one person after another who, you know, has obtained a medical marijuana card, and yet when it came time to get the medicines, the grower had, you know, lots of excuses or this and that, or they just simply disappeared. You know, and I just think that there must be, I mean, is there a way or a place for a person who finds themselves in that situation to report this to, other than call the police, you know?
The Oregon Health Authority, you can also sue them in court. I've seen, so even Judge Judy took an Oregon medical marijuana case. I've been called about a couple of them over the years. You can take them to small claims court if they don't meet their obligations to you. You can, what I always tell people is if you're picking out a caregiver or grower to cultivate cannabis for you, you should make it someone you know and trust very well, not just any stranger. And you should have something, make your arrangements in advance. There can be problems in cultivating, but just because the guy wants to sell it to the dispensary rather than to give you what you deserve is no excuse. And
it really seems like that has happened to a lot of people I know, you know.
Yeah. There's these new rules that are going to require anyone who is supplying dispensaries to submit a monthly report to the Oregon Health Authority. And then their garden has to be open to inspections as well. Maybe that'll go some way toward keeping some of these people honest.
Yeah. Or like, like on this sounds like a stupid comparison, but it's all I can think of right now. But like on eBay, once you receive your product, then you make a note of that in the computer.
Yeah,
And
kind of a
if there was
review.
a system like that, I mean, I don't know, if it's even possible, then
That is
would
possible.
keep
That is
honest,
definitely
you know what I'm
possible.
saying?
Some kind of review of caregivers out there, like Yelp for medical marijuana growers, I guess, would be something like that. But that's a good idea. But this stuff grows on trees. It's really just the dichotomy between it being illegal in most places and semi-legal with medical. This stuff should be cheap. It should be plentiful. These guys shouldn't have some alternative to sell it for more than the price of gold out there. So what we need to do is continue to work with the legislature to implement realistic laws and keep working to change the laws and make it better for patients such as yourself. It should be very, very inexpensive. When I grow cannabis outdoors in the cities, I think my production costs are about 15 cents a gram. So,
well, you actually helped me out from that very situation,
Well, I'm glad I was able to help. I can't help everyone, unfortunately, and
well, of course,
I wish I could. And most of the patients I've taken on have been ripped off by somebody in the past, which is one of the reasons I agreed to be their caregiver in the first place. But now the state is saying I have to jettison basically over 100 patients that I won't be able to help anymore. So because of these changes in the law. So contact your state representatives and tell them that this stuff works and it shouldn't be treated like it's bad for us, because it's not.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling. So again, if you have a question, comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. Anything new in your world this week, Casper?
No, but I'm sure getting excited about the election. Maybe someday we can all go rent a room at the White House, or the Trump House in Washington. That'll be good.
You're going to trumpet that.
Yeah, maybe Hillary will be the person that'll sign you in when you show up, and be kind of groovy.
Yeah, that would be.
Are you following the election at all?
I am. I'm a news junkie, so I'm watching it. But I'm just sick of hearing about this poll and that poll, and this guy's ahead and that guy's ahead. It's just let them vote. That's what I say.
Well, maybe Bernie Sanders will surprise us all.
In Europe, the rest of the world, these elections are abbreviated. They're, like 6 weeks. I hope so. Bernie Sanders is the only candidate. Yeah, 6 weeks of election instead of 6 years.
Oh, my gosh.
But Bernie Sanders is the only candidate who's come out of any major party and said he is in favor of marijuana legalization.
And
Hillary Trump won't say that.
Prison reform, too.
And prison reform. I've said for many years right here at this desk on this show that whenever the Democratic Party gets behind marijuana legalization, they will build a huge coalition, much the way that Franklin Delano Roosevelt brought people to the Democratic Party by ending alcohol prohibition back in 1933. The Democratic Party has the opportunity to build that party right now by advocating the legalization of hemp and cannabis. And so I'm going to burn one for Bernie. If you
and I think that instead of arresting marijuana smokers, we should arrest members of Congress
and
bankers who enforce these silly laws and write these silly laws and then use them to keep people in poverty.
So far, with our big banking collapse back in 2006 and 8, no bankers have gone to jail. In Iceland, they just put 28 bankers in jail for 8 to 10 years for defrauding the public. So it seems that, there's people in life in prison for 7 pounds of marijuana, or 12 to 15 years for anywhere from 6 plants to one guy in Louisiana has 15 years in jail for 2 joints. And so this was a working man with children, and he's in jail. He's already been in jail 8 years, and he's got another 6 to go just for the possession of 2 joints. It's just crazy. And so marijuana prohibition has never been about drugs. It's always been about money and power and the centralization of economic and political control. We've had a caller standing by. and we have someone here in the studio that's going to say something. But first, let's take the caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello. How you doing this evening?
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Well, my question is, I've been dealing with various forms of depression over quite a few years, and I'm just wondering if cannabis is a way to help combat that. And I know that I've been smoking it on and off for years, and I know how it makes me feel. It calms me down, keeps me at ease, and it seems to block some of those sensors that trigger the depression moods I get into.
No, it does. And unfortunately, it's not a medical qualifying condition in the state of Oregon. It is in the state of California, but in Oregon it isn't. However, marijuana is legal for everybody now, so it definitely works for depression, and you can use it.
And I can certainly attest to that. I suffer from bipolar syndrome, and my doctor suggested a while back that I try a couple of medications that had some really horrible, horrible side effects. And so he said, when you get high, are you like so happy that the world is your oyster and you're going to go out and conquer it? And I went, no, not at all. So, and when you're smoking marijuana, do you feel so depressed that you want to kill yourself? I went, oh, God, no. So it keeps you right in the middle, right? Yeah, I went, yeah. He says, see, I'd rather have you smoke that and just worry about you having the munchies than give you all these medications and worrying about side effects. So you go away and smoke your marijuana and you'll be a lot happier. And you know what? He was right.
I couldn't agree more. I went to a naturopath office today, and all they wanted to do was put me on a bunch of different supplements and whatnot. And I asked them, specifically, hey, what are your, ideas about introducing cannabis to this? And she couldn't tell me anything whatsoever.
They're afraid their medical board. They're afraid the medical board's going to somehow censor them.
Well, and it kept me from having to deal with two medications. They were first trying to find a substance that would help me deal with depression. Then they wanted to find a substance to help me deal with the euphoria that comes with bipolar syndrome. And both, again, once they found whatever the medications would be, it was like being a guinea pig. They would first find what would work, and after finding what would work, find out how much of each would work. And he suggested that smoking marijuana until I was happy would just be all we needed to worry about. So again, there's no chance of overdose, no side effects to deal with, no opportunities to have a change of personality that might make you regret that. It just gives you the munchies. So I suggest when you start smoking marijuana, lay in a bunch of apples, oranges, and celery and get rid of the the brownies and the candies and the cookies. So when you get the munchies, all you can grab is something healthy for you. And again, it'll be a plus plus.
All righty. Well, appreciate it, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you much.
You're very welcome. We have a gentleman here in the studio. Go right ahead, gentlemen.
All right. Well, from what I've read on the OHA site, they have a list of permanent rules for medical marijuana providers and for patients. Basically, it crosses out almost every line of the current law and replaces it with others, including taking the 18 plants under 1 foot off and not being allowed for medical marijuana users. They're having meetings all this month throughout the state to ask for input on that, and I suggest that everybody try to make it to one of these meetings and stop them from changing this into something that we can't even use.
Very well said. Thank you, Scott. So yeah, we need to get down there and make our voices heard in the House of Congress here in the state. And in fact, we have a event that's coming up on February 8th at the state capitol. We'll be it's the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program rally. We'll be have speakers, music, letter writing, and you can go right into the capitol and talk to your legislators too. So come down and join us at the state capitol at high noon. That is Monday, February 8th. And we'll get in and tell the legislators exactly what we think and what we need to have happen and how they need to make changes in the law to make the program better. So again, that's February 8th, high noon, the steps of the Oregon State Capitol. We have a permit, and legislature will be in session So please come down there and join us. We have another caller standing by, though. Did you want to say something?
I was going to say, and to prove that to our legislators that medical cannabis is a reality, we can all chip in and make it a point to bring up with us some medical suppositories to give to our representatives.
Okay, and the ones we don't like, we can, well, never mind. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello there. I'm calling in regards to where we have all these taverns and bars all over the place. I don't know how many we have in the city. I know there's more than enough if we haven't got that taken care of. But the question is, are there going to be any kind of social clubs for people to go to just to smoke and maybe play cards or
There have
pinball
been.
or pool?
There have been, and the city of Portland went to all of them and threatened to shut them down. So one of my favorite has shut down. There are a couple that are pushing the envelope and staying open. They're being threatened with huge fines if they don't close down. But
How could they close down with it being legal the way it is, though?
Say that again?
How could they actually shut them down if it's legal for itself?
Well, they're saying it has to do with clean air inside the building and things like that. So one of them, the Northwest Social Club, has set up some tents outside their building that they think will get around that indoor smoking ban. But again, there's another thing we get to get in front of the legislature. They should be allowing these things and licensing them so they can legally exist instead of forcing them to shut down. So that's where we're at. Right now, are 2 that are still open that I know of. And unfortunately, I can't advertise for them here on the show. But if you give us a call at our office, that number will pop up there any second now on the screen. Then you can, we'll be happy to give you some information. Just call us if you're outside the city, you can call the toll-free number, 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in Portland, that number is 503-281-5100. It's 503-281-5100.
I see. Well, the thing is, I just don't understand this politics where these taverns and bars, who knows how much alcohol they serve in the course of the day for itself. But yet at the same time, they think of people who are going inside these establishments, getting drunk the way they do, not completely drunk, but there are some people that do, and they just take it to the limit. But yet at the same time, it seems like they would have some kind of a sign at the door, enter at own risk, beware of smoke or something off the wall like that. I don't know how he would word it exactly, but...
Well, it's something that can be debated and worked out, but I appreciate you calling, and I agree there should be indoor establishments that people can get together and share cannabis. If we'd passed Measure 80 in 2012, which got 47% of the vote, it would allow licensed facilities indoors to set this up. It would have been a lot better. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. The forces that be came in and stopped us from moving forward in 2014 and instead gave us Measure 91, which was one set, but now the legislature's made it a lot worse. So all we can do is go back to the legislature, tell them to fix the mess they made and try to make it better.
And it seems like with all the money they generate from marijuana sales itself, they'd have about like that for the people itself, I mean, they could only do so much at the home front, but you got to get to the point that these home fronts, you can't even smoke tobacco in your own apartment or your house. They just don't allow it, If you get caught doing it, grounds are being terminated in itself, and there again, you're doing it in privacy of your own home, and it shouldn't make any difference as long as you're safe about it, Now, if you do something crazy about it, well, of course, let the law do what they have to do, but there again, you're not doing anything wrong, you're just trying to...
It's supposed to be legal,
say,
and if we can't share it with our friends, it's not fully legal yet, so we've got more work to do. Thanks for your call, though.
Okay,
We're running out of time here.
Keep up the good work, guys. And
thank you. I appreciate that. Casper, you want to give a plug for your radio internet empire?
I would like to, Jeepers, make it a point to go to timeforhemp.com. It is a groovy place to drop in and find out what's going on all around the world in the cannabis movement. We have over 20 hosts producing about 60 hours a week of original content focused on the need to end prohibition. From Skunk Magazine and Mark Emery and Judge James Gray to Paul Stanford and myself. All of our downloads are available up there in the archives for free, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and all the other social outlets. So please make it a point to go to timeforhemp.com, and it's like a good joint. It's always best when you share it with your friends.
Okay, we have a little video clip. Let's run a minute of that video, and we'll be right back.
Talk to people across the state, and that's the information I'm getting on that. I want to go back to, I think, the concerns OHA's raised. First of all, this program was a direct response to the voters passing 1998, the medical marijuana program. So we've had this program now for, my guess, 16 years. Co-memo came out about 3 years ago, if I remember correctly, maybe 2 years ago. And it seems like we're trying to jump through a lot of hoops very quickly. That doesn't seem like it's really necessary to do what we've done and show and demonstrate to the feds where they've never have come into this state or any other state that requires, that has a license or allowed for medical marijuana programs to basically shut them down because they're out of compliance. So please keep that in mind. What I do want to know is where y'all are at now based on the last presentation we got in November with the recommendation of decoupling patients from growers. That tells me that you're basically trying to shut the system down, and I'm trying to figure out how you're looking at what we've said. We want it tracking to be tracking light, different from seed to sell. So please tell us where y'all are at today on tracking.
So we've issued permanent rules that those are the rules that we'll be taking public comment on later this month that involve the tracking requirements that we included in our rules. We believe that we've set tracking standards that match the language of House Bill 3400 and are happy to discuss any specific
Why don't
concerns.
you give us a little overview of what that is, because I'm hearing you think you did what the bill says, but I also know we put stuff in the bill that y'all are doing something completely different. So how did you interpret it?
Madam Chair. Yes. Senator Brzezinski. We're asking those people or dispensaries that transfer medical product to report to us monthly on the amount. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a number of, that's really helpful. We have a lot of people who've come to provide community member tests.
So we would like to run more of that, but we're about out of time. So we've got Mr. John Cornett standing by in the wings. I just want to say very quickly that if you or a loved one need help finding a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, you can call us at toll-free 1-800-723-0188. Or if you're out, that's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in Portland, it's 503-281-5100. And that's it for this week. Tune in next week. Here's Mr. John Cornett. And help us restore hemp. Good night.
There's a train coming